weather coverage.
Hello everyone, I'm meteorologist Mike Mays in the WRAL Severe Weather Center. We've been watching a cell over southern Cumberland County for the last 15 minutes or so, showing signs of rotation, and the National Weather Service has issued a tornado warning for southern Cumberland County. A very small portion. This is until 9:45. The storm is located near Elizabethtown, 17 miles north of Elizabethtown, moving southeast at 30 miles per hour. It's radar indicated rotation. So what you're looking at now is the area of rain and lightning strikes, and what you're seeing here is what we call a little inflow notch, and this is where the apparent tornado would be. So let's switch over to the velocities, and you can definitely see a couplet. And if you were with us over the past couple of days, we watched the tornado warning in Princeville and Tarboro, and then Chris Michaels had the tornado warning over near Macclesfield and Pine Tops. This is the same signature, kind of signature, that we saw with those tornado warnings. So you look at the green inside the thunderstorm, those are the raindrops moving toward the radar site, which is located near Clayton, and the reds are moving away. So there you got your little bit of a circulation or rotation showing up, and it was a little broad a few minutes ago, and then it would tighten back up, and now it's shown signs of strengthening. So let's go back in time, and you can see what I was watching here at about 8:58, really not showing much, and then boom, right there at 8:59, you see the greens butted up against the reds, indicating perhaps a little bit of rotation. There's 9:01, there is 9:05, it weakens just a little bit, not looking as impressive, 9:07, and then the latest scans show definitive signs of something going on there. So let's zoom in and take a look at what's going on. There's the Lena community in southern Cumberland County. There's the Lease. This is likely to be a very rural area. There's the Jerome community. So we can zoom down into street level, and there's Turnbull Road, Avery Road, Johnson Road, and it seems as we go farther south, there's Avery Road and Dennis Harold Simmons Road. So these locations are in the tornado warned area, at least up here in Cumberland County. If you're watching from this area, you need to get into the safe spot in your house. You need to go to the lowest level of your house, an interior room, one that is very small, like a bathroom or a closet that doesn't have any windows. The smaller the room in the house, the more structurally sound it is and would be able to withstand the winds of a tornado. Now, the tornado warnings that we saw, or the confirmed tornadoes that we saw over the past couple of days, were EF1s, where the winds were between 100 to 110. This signature looks similar to what we saw with those other tornadoes. So it is not a very strong tornado, but strong enough to cause some damage. And again, it is moving to the southeast at about 30 miles per hour. So let me do a storm track. Not many communities would probably show up. So we're doing southeast at about 30 miles per hour, and it will run outside the tornado warned zone. Let me do more of this configuration, and let me see if I can get other cities to show up. Give me 1 second as I work with technology here and see if we can get something else to show up. Again, there aren't many communities. You got Peters Creek at 9:34, time of arrival. Highsmiths community at 9:38, Mintz at 9:40, McDaniels at 9:43, and Parkersburg at 9:44. So again, we're talking about a tornado warning for southeastern Cumberland County. I'll zoom out in a minute so you can get a better idea of where this is located, but we just want the folks in southern, southeastern Cumberland County to be safe and get into their safe shelter. It is moving southeast at about 30 miles per hour. This tornado warning is in effect until 9:45, and there are the communities that are in the path of the storm as we get down the road through 9:45, 9:44. Again, there is Parkersburg. So let me clear this off, put the rain back on the radar, and expand the view. There's also a flood advisory in effect for Cumberland County and parts of Sampson County. That is until 10:15 tonight. We've had so much rain across the area over the past 4 days, and any additional rain is causing runoff and subsequent flooding and ponding of water on the road. So this is pretty much the only game in town, so to speak. What we saw earlier this afternoon has considerably weakened, and all this is sliding down to the southeast. And we'll time-lapse this, and you can see the general movement. The storms were weakening. This did enter a zone where conditions are more environmentally favorable for a tornado to spin up. Weak, brief tornado. We'll see if this warning lasts till 9:45 because the others that we saw didn't last quite as long. But you see in the Fayetteville camera there is rain coming down in the area. It would be very heavy rainfall. Eventually, this will slide into Sampson County. Now, if it does hold together and remains its integrity or keeps its integrity, we may see this tornado warning move into Sampson Sampson County. That's a possibility if it remains intact. So again, here's the broad view. We see quite a bit of lightning strikes over southeastern Cumberland County. Sampson County is seeing rain. Duplin County is seeing rain. Signs are this will gradually weaken and move to the south and east, and the latest run of the Futurecast models do show more showers coming in overnight from the west, infecting our southern counties. So we may see stray showers overnight, not really expecting a severe threat overnight. I think once this comes to an end, that would be the end of the threat for the overnight, but we have another threat for severe weather tomorrow from Raleigh north and east. Now, there is a warm front coming into the area tomorrow, and we'll watch to see if that could help create a little rotation in the atmosphere as well. And right now, the only threat we're watching for tomorrow is damaging winds, hail, and the potential for the localized flooding since the ground is so wet. Now, Brian Schrader is standing by in the live center. It's been a busy past few days, Brian. I know you've been watching the roads closely and all the other situations that's going on. What do you have for us?
That's right, Mike. If we could go to Weather 5, we can show that on the screen. I could go over some quick tornado safety rules here as we track that storm in southern Cumberland County. Obviously, go inside, seek shelter inside a sturdy building. Go to the lowest level of your home, avoid the windows. You want to put as many walls between you and the outside as possible. And of course, try to get out of mobile homes or cars if it's safe, and get into sturdier shelter. Maybe you have a neighbor across the street that has a sturdier shelter that you can get into if you're listening to us on the radio. Get out of that car, get into a convenience store or a more substantial structure. And if you are in southern Cumberland County right now and it's safe for you to get a picture or a video of what's going on where you are, please send it to us at WRAL.com/reported. We are watching the feeds on X and also from emergency management. Haven't seen any reports of any damage at this point, Mike.
Thanks, Brian. Let's take a look at the latest scan of the velocity showing the storm. Now, it has weakened. This is the latest scan at 9:21. I'll go back in time when the tornado warning was first issued, and you can definitely see a difference. Again, pay close attention to the greens and the reds, and notice how they're not butted up against each other anymore. So that is excellent news. That is a definitive sign of this storm weakening. We go back in time, and you can see when the tornado warning was issued how close the greens and reds are. They're butted up right against each other. So when we see that, that's a telltale sign of circulations going on, the potential for a funnel cloud or even a tornado. That was at 9:14. We'll zoom in a little bit more so we can get some town roads, our town names on there, our road names on there, I should say. So let's forward this. We go to 9:15, we go to 9:18, and then the latest scan at 9:22, and you're just not seeing those greens butted up right against the reds. And so to me, this shows definitive signs of weakening. Now, we'll see subsequent scans, one coming in shortly and then another and then another, and if it continues to show this trend of where it's not coming back together and you have the bright greens against the dark reds showing definitive circulation, the tornado warning may be canceled. So let me check in with the Weather Service office and see, let's see, no sign of debris signature with that cell. There is a correlation coefficient drop, but that's out of the inflow region. Rotation is significantly weakening and becoming very diffuse as the downdraft fell into the inflow region. We may see a continued weakening trend. This came out at 9:19. It's 9:22 now. That's the latest thinking from the National Weather Service. So we will continue to watch this weekend. Excellent news that this is the case. This may have been a brief spin up, which is understandable, and then quickly weakening. So let's hope this trend does continue. But what we're seeing right now in velocities is not as concerning as it was just a few minutes ago when we go back in time. Excuse me, back in time at 9:13. You can see that definitive rotation right here, and that continues to slide to the east and southeast at about 30 miles per hour. So we look at the lightning strikes, they're going down as well. That was at 9:13. Actually, they're ramping up since 9:13. We go over to the radar, and we're not seeing that inflow notch that we saw a short time ago when it was really beginning to develop. Let's go back in time. And again, there's what we call an inflow notch, and that's where we tend to see the air rising, going up and creating this little vacant area, and that's typically where a tornado would be inside a storm. So that was at 9:13. We go back over to velocities, and that's where you see a really, really good signature. So let me mark that. that's where you're seeing the rotation. We go back to reflectivity at that time, and that's where the inflow notch is. So using both products, you can see where a tornado would be showing up, and it's worked out pretty well by looking at both of those products. So again, let's go back to the velocities. We continue to go in time, and it just does not look like it was. So in my experience, I would say that this is falling apart. We'll continue to watch this. It is 9:25. The warning goes until 9:45. We'll watch for a couple of more scans and see what the National Weather Service does. We'll see if the system spins back up and becomes more intense, or it just continues to weaken. But right now, it's not looking all that impressive. Plus, we're not seeing that inflow notch. There is a new area that may be of concern right about here. Let's take a look at the velocities, and there's really nothing showing up there that looked like we saw a moment ago. So that may not be anything, but we'll keep an eye on that as well. Take a look at a couple other products, something called rotation detector, what's also called the shear rate, and it was showing up a moment ago. 9:15, 9:16, and then it disappears as well. So we're not seeing any shear or rotation showing up anymore. So that's certainly good news. And there is the shear swath, the rotation swath that was moving into the area. And as you can see, it's fallen off as well. And that's, again, an excellent sign. So we may be seeing an ending of the tornado warned storm. Let's expand the view. And again, we'll run through this and we'll time lapse the thunderstorm, and you can see over the past 30 minutes how the showers and storms are pretty much shrinking in coverage. The only storm right now is in the southeastern part of Cumberland County, and you can't help but notice that purple area. Let's zoom in, let's stop the time lapse and zoom in. That's likely where there's some hail falling, and we see near Turnbull Road, that purple showing up. We'll switch over, and yeah, there is some hail showing up. So if you're watching from this vicinity, you're probably seeing small hail, maybe pea-sized hail, marble-sized hail. It doesn't look like it'd be a large hail out of this. But that looks like the only big concern right now outside of the tornado warning. Now, Brian Trader standing by in the Live Center. Do you have some new information, Brian?
Well, I was just going to tell you, Mike, I was looking at the velocity data out of the Wilmington radar, which is not too far from there, and it also indicates that sort of weakening trend, so hopefully that'll keep up. I know so many people don't have basements, so if you're watching us tonight and you're in a home without a basement looking for the safest place during a tornado warning, as we always say, get as low in your home as you can and put as many walls between yourself and the outside, and a bathroom in the center of the house. That typically is going to be your best bet. You can see in this diagram there are so many walls between that bathroom and the outside. The plumbing also helps to hold it intact in tornado situations. So just something you want to keep in mind if you're looking for a place right now to take cover. An interior bathroom is usually a pretty good choice.
It definitely is, especially one interior room that's away from any windows. There's the large view, the wide view. We'll do a reset here and show you that that's really the only thunderstorm, Brian, that's in the area. It continues to slide to the southeast. There are no new updates from the National Weather Service. We were hoping that there would be. Okay, this is interesting. They just have a new message. There's another cell on the backside that is becoming a dominant cell just north of Jerome, which is in northern Bladen County. So let's zoom in. And maybe it's that little inflow that I was pointing out on the reflectivity a moment ago, and it may be the more dominant one, and maybe there's a new cell beginning to develop. Let's take a look, and let me shut this off. And again, this is what we looked at a moment ago, and we see this little semicircle, and that might be a new area that's trying to develop. The old area here that got washed out has moved off to the south and east, and again, this may be taking over, as I pointed out with the new inflow. Remember, I pointed it out right about there, the potential for a new inflow. That looked kind of suspicious. And so the Weather Service is picking up on that as well. And let me forward this, and it's looking rather broad. Let's go back to the velocities and see if anything's showing up. So there's Jerome, there's the community that the Weather Service folks pointed out. Let me go back over to the velocities, and really we're not seeing rotation showing up there, not like we did a moment ago, but I'm sure they're watching that. Of course they are watching that because they did mention it. And really no tight circulation showing up. It's very broad. So let's continue to watch to see if that spins up. But our original area of rotation here, where it is now, does not look quite as impressive. Let me go over to another product. And It just looks very diffuse. But the tornado warning does continue till about 9:45. It is 9:29 right now, so we've got about 16 minutes till this expires or is canceled. We continue to watch this severe thunderstorm producing a possible tornado located near Jerome. This was at 9:22, 16 miles north of Elizabethtown. Now they're saying it's moving east at about 15. So let me do a new storm track from the rotation area that we're seeing here right now and see what communities would be impacted. So there's the latest scan, moving to the east at about 15 miles per hour. Let me get some cities to show up and see what we can see. And it's just showing Peters Creek arrival time at 9:51. And that's the only really community in that area. Let me zoom in a little bit closer and take a look at street level. We are looking at Peters Creek there. There's Leadhorn Road. There's Turnbull Road. Back to the west, we have Johnson Road. There's the Lena community. We'll be tossing to Lena Tillette in just a moment. Just interesting that showed up. And we zoom in a little bit closer, and that's where the greatest circulation is: Turnbull Road, Fayland Road, Leadhorn Road. So if you're watching in these areas, and I mentioned your road name, as Brian mentioned, you need to get to your safe shelter and stay there until the tornado warning does expire. Now, Lena, you're standing by. Do you have any new information to share?
Well, we're just trying to take a look at some of the live images that we have access to with our WRAL live cameras, Mike, as I know you are assessing so much information right now and taking a look at scans coming in by the minute. This is a live look in Fayetteville. You see some of the rain coming down. It's very light at this point, but we know that the cell that you're watching is in between White Lake and Fayetteville, the two live pictures that we have. So that's kind of what we've been monitoring. Here's the live picture of White Lake. So we know that this is somewhere in between. And right now it looks very calm in these two places. You see the lightning there. We've been talking about so much lightning over the course of the last several hours, Mike. And I know that is one of the reasons why some of these storms have been so energized, and that's something that you continue to monitor. So yeah, we're looking at these live pictures, looking calm in those two places, but of course you know that there's so much more happening in the atmosphere than just the rain in those locations.
Exactly, and we had a high temperature in the mid-80s today. You notice the humidity has gone up a bit, and all that is fueling the storms that we saw today. But now that we're losing the heating of the day, a lot of the activity has died down, but this is like the lone wolf kind of storm right now. And once this weakens and moves out of the area, that should be the end of the severe weather for the night tonight, although we're not going to rule out a stray shower, maybe even an isolated thunderstorm overnight. Now, tomorrow, we have a warm front coming into the area, and from Raleigh northward into Virginia, northeastward toward Rocky Mountain and such, we have a level 1 risk for severe weather. And anytime you have a warm front in the area, there's a change in wind direction along the front, and you can't rule out rotation and a thunderstorm that could spin up, depending on how the atmosphere is set up. But tomorrow will likely be hotter with highs in the upper 80s, so that means it'll be more energized than what we saw today, and also there will be higher dew points, and that would also fuel the storm. So we're going to be on the lookout for damaging winds tomorrow, also the possibility of hail, and since it's rained so much and the ground's saturated, localized flooding would certainly be a possibility with any of the storms coming on in. And also, again, with that warm front, even though the Storm Prediction Center is saying the threat is low, we'll be vigilant and watch out for a potential rotating thunderstorm tomorrow afternoon. It looks like that time period would be 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 o'clock. And then after that point, it looks like the storms will be moving on by. Now, what would be different tomorrow than what we had today, most of the storms today were coming in from the southwest, moving to the northeast. Notice the movement is different now. These storms are now coming in from the northwest to the southeast. That's going to be the dominant trend tomorrow because the winds have changed in the upper atmosphere. Instead of coming in from the southwest, they're coming in from the northwest and west, carrying these thunderstorms. So that's why we're seeing different movement now than we did earlier today. And tonight we'll see any stray shower coming in from the west and northwest, and then during the day tomorrow, they'll come in from the west and northwest. But again, primarily looking at the Raleigh area and to the north for the thunderstorms tomorrow. Tonight's storms will gradually die down. We still have that tornado warning in effect, and a new statement came in from the Weather Service. They're now saying it's moving to the southeast at about 20 miles per hour. So let me stop the time lapse and I'll do a new storm track. And still notice that little bit of purple showing up, so there's probably some small hail coming out of this. And the new update came from the Weather Service saying this low-level rotation continues to weaken, still holding on to the warning for the potential severe hail threat. So this will probably be maintained at least through 9:45. So I'll stay with you until this comes to an end. There is hail in here. Let's go take a look at the hail, and there it is, showing up over toward Avery Road, Turnbull Road, between Cedar Creek Road and such. This is where we would likely be seeing hail coming down. And we take a look at the size, and we're talking about 1-inch diameter hail. So it would be the size of quarters if we were seeing that. Most likely it's probably a little bit smaller, maybe about nickel or dime size hail. So we'll continue to watch to see if that ramps up, but right now it doesn't look like it's all too large of hail. Let's go back to the radar view, and again, a little bit of a little notch beginning to show up again right here, heading into Bladen County. Let's switch over to velocities to see if we see anything, and yeah, this is now looking like it's becoming the predominant or dominant circulation, whereas the old one, this is what's left of it, and this is moving to the southeast. So let me do a storm track from this new vantage point, and then we'll toss it to Brian. He's standing by in the live center with power outages. We'll go to him in just a second, but let me do a storm track from this center of circulation to the southeast at about 20 miles per hour. Let me get some names up here of communities if there's anything to show up, and it's probably not. This is a very rural area, and so we're talking about Ammon Ford at 9:53, Ammon at 9:54, Peters Creek at 10 o'clock. So I'm going to continue to watch to see if this becomes the dominant part of the storm, and maybe circulation can spin back up, but right now it's not looking impressive at all. Let's throw it to Brian in the live center. Been a rough afternoon with thunderstorms. There are power outages. What are you seeing tonight?
Thankfully, I just checked power outages in Cumberland County, not seeing any significant ones. On about 60 customers who are out right now. We're watching that camera on the WRAL live cam network at White Lake, which is in Bladen County, and you can see the lightning there. And White Lake is quite a distance away from the storm. I want to show the radar again. There's the storm we're watching in the southern part of Cumberland County and northern Bladen County, and White Lake is several miles away. So even from there, we're seeing some pretty significant lightning. Quick check of that live camera in downtown Fayetteville. That storm is well to the south, the central part of Fayetteville. Not seeing much lightning there, but certainly the White Lake camera has been active with the lightning. These storms have been prolific lightning producers, and as you mentioned, Mike, indicating that we could see a little bit of hail also falling with this particular cell.
Yeah, it's been an active afternoon. There have been reports of hail. There have been reports of flooding. You see the flood advisory, the polygon in green for Fayetteville and Hope Mills over toward Roseboro and Sampson County. So this area has seen quite a bit of rain. This runs until, let me double check again, until 10:15. So there's probably some culvert flooding, minor flooding going on in some locations there. And with that heavy rain over southeastern Cumberland County, likely to be some more in the way of flooding going on in that location too. So as we zoom in, we take a look at the cloud ground lightning strikes, 25 in total. We have 5 positive strikes, 21 negative strikes. Now, if you don't know the difference between positive and negative strikes, the negative strikes are the ones that start from the base of the cloud and go to the ground. The positive strikes are the ones that start at the top of the thunderstorm and make their way all the way down to the ground. And those are the ones that are really the loud boom kind that make your windows rattle, and it's like a long trail of thunder that happens right after that lightning strike. So those are the lightning strikes that tend to cause more of the house fires and such. So those are the worst of the two, and they're the ones that aren't quite as frequent, so to speak. So that's why there's only 5 of those, and you have 20 of the negative strikes. So there's the view we're watching. The purple that's showing up right on the Bladen and Cumberland County line, that's likely hail. And again, it's probably small hail, nickel-sized, dime-sized hail. If you are in that vicinity and you have the ability to take a picture of the hail, you can send it to WRAL. Go to reportit@wral.com and send in your picture there. We want you to be safe, so don't go out if there's a lot of lightning in the area. If you can stand on your front porch, or maybe if you have a covered deck and you can take a picture of it, that'd be excellent news. But again, that's the heart of the cell right now. There's a little bit of an inflow notch. Let's go back to take a look at the velocities and see if we see any kind of rotation going on. And it's very, very diffuse. In fact, it's moved primarily out of Cumberland County now into Bladen County, and still waiting to see if the National Weather Service will cancel the warning now that it has primarily moved out of Cumberland County. The threat looks basically right in this area of Bladen County and no longer from that other circulation that would have been in Peters Creek by now. Let me zoom in a little bit closer. No real definitive circulation, so at this point, really not concerned that there being a tornado on the ground. There could be some rotating clouds aloft. Avery Road, Sand Ridge Road, if you're watching from Live Oak, Methodist Church Road, that's the area of concern right now, and that is in northern Bladen County. There's just a little piece of it that's still in Cumberland County, so I would assume shortly that the tornado warning would be canceled. Let's go back to the radar view, and again, there is that little inflow that would indicate maybe where some kind of circulation is trying to form, but the other circulation would have been right here by now, and it is not showing anything menacing. It's just showing the rain coming on down. Now, Lena is standing by. We've had a very busy day. You've been watching us cover the weather for the past 3 days or 4 days, and tomorrow we have another WRAL alert day.
Sure, Mike, and that's why I wanted to ask you a question, because let's put all of this in context. We've been dealing with these warnings now for the past 3 days at least. We saw 3 tornadoes touch down in Edgecombe County, and I wondered if you could kind of put in perspective the signature that you're seeing there as you're looking at those scans. Does that look like anything that you saw with Edgecombe County?
And I think before you came into the studio, I did point that out and said it looked awfully familiar to what we saw in Edgecombe County yesterday and the day before. Let me go back in time and I'll point it out because it really was well defined and was reminiscent of what we saw there. Right there at 9:12, Lena. If you were watching the cover, well, you were here for the afternoon in Princeville and Tarboro. So those greens are the raindrops inside of the thunderstorm moving toward the radar, which is up near Clayton, and the red's moving away. So they're butted right up against each other. When you see the green right next to the red, that's where the circulation is the tightest. That's the same kind of signature, the same kind of signature that we saw with the Princeville Tarboro tornado, and also the one we saw at Pine Tops and Macclesfield. Those generated EF1 tornadoes with winds up to 100 to 110 miles per hour.
But you're not seeing a debris signature right now.
No. And there may have been one briefly. The Weather Service did say that there could have been one. Let's take a look at that product, the debris detector. And if there was, and it would have been right there, but that to me is too large to really indicate perhaps debris. We'll wait and see what the National Weather Service says, if they think that there was a tornado that touched down. And most likely nobody saw it because it's in a very rural area, and of course it's at night. We'll wait to see if they send out a crew tomorrow. But that signature, very reminiscent of what we saw over the past couple of days in Edgecombe County. And so I would not be surprised if something brief touched down there.
We're seeing all the lightning in this live picture still, Mike, in White Lake there in Bladen County, south of what you're describing here. We've been seeing so much lightning throughout the evening. Will that continue into the overnight hours?
We're looking for a stray shower or isolated thunderstorm overnight, so the lightning probably won't even be as intense as what we're seeing right now. The southern counties possibly have some showers and storms overnight. I'll outline that tonight at 10 on Fox 50 and 11 on WRAL with a brand new model run that's coming in right now. But we've had thousands of lightning strikes over the past 24 hours. I know Kat had pointed out a product. I believe she said it was, I can't remember, but there were thousands of lightning strikes. We still have that potential tomorrow. We still have another WRAL weather alert day, another active day. The good news is it's going to be more in the northern counties. That's where it's focused, so it's not everybody that would have the potential for severe weather tomorrow.
Okay. National Weather Service still holding on to this warning at this point?
Yeah, it's 9:42 and it's set to expire at 9:45. The worst part of the cell, let's see, hail core is moving out of Cumberland County. We will be expiring the warning at 9:45. So what we'll do is we'll do one last little recap and show that there's rain over Fayetteville and toward Clinton. That thunderstorm's moving into Bladen County, and the warning now has just come down that it has expired. And we'll continue to watch this cell. It is in Bladen County right now. There's probably some small hail, but join me at 10 on Fox 50. We'll continue to follow this. I got the brand new run of Futurecast coming up to show what we can see for the night tonight and for the day tomorrow. So stay with us.